Honestly unbalanced.
And firstly, I'd love to know how it is working with family. You started a business with your brother, which is that it? Was that scary, or were
Yeah,
you up
well,
for that?
both brothers now actually, but yeah. So Dale, it started with Dale because when I first had the brass monkey idea, which was from using an ice bath that I'd made from a chest freezer, and I was using that, and obviously that was a really weird thing to do in 2019. You know,
Yeah.
it was a particularly like strange. Why are you doing that? Now it's a bit more understood and whatever. And I was telling Dale about, oh, I've got this, ice bath, and he made a comment like, well, you are unplugging that, aren't you, when you get in it? And I said, no, no, I've not thought about that. So, and straight away it was that, and then as that progressed over time to I'm going to start a company making one, it wasn't a shock to him, and he was quite instinctive in his reaction of, well, I'd like to be involved in that, which took me by surprise. So in my mind, I would, you know, uh, create the brand, business plan, raise some money, start manufacturing them. A bit like who is it doing this at the minute? Monk.
Yes, yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
So Monk are doing something that, they've obviously just raising capital and then procuring, I imagine, from China and, mass importing and all the rest of it. So that was what I thought I would do. That would be a great idea and dead simple. And then with Dale coming on board, and he has a building background and he's used to dealing with different types of skilled contractors and experts and whatever. And we just figured it forward from there. And what's that like? Well, we're very different, Dale and I.
Hmm.
I suppose where are we similar? We got on really well in the, yeah, fuck it, we can do it. It's very much a front foot forward. We've got this, bring it on kind of mentality. Where it struggles is we have different opinions, no surprise there. And we can
About
be
the stuff that
very,
matters, or the kind of more irrelevant stuff.
oh, no, no, very much on the what do we do next? Why and all, kind of,
Okay.
where do we spend money? Where do we don't? Who do we hire? Who do we don't? Um, and that they can be fiery conversations for sure. But I think it's because we're comfortable with each other in that way.
Mm.
So it's not falling out. There is a directness, and I'll just say what I think, and he won't hold back in saying what he thinks. And what's good about that is we arrive at what we're going to do pretty quick.
Yeah,
Uh,
you get a lot of the initial, I guess, subverse messaging out the way, and lots of talking
yes.
behind the back. It's all done, and it's just you
Oh, it's done
storm
and dusted.
immediately. You storm and norm straight away.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah. So I won't get into it, but there was a thing he did last night on the product roadmap, which he should not have done, and it caused us some problems, shall we say?
Oh no.
And straight away there's a direct conversation. For fuck's sake, fill in the blank, and we have a conversation. We clear that up. What's the lesson here? Let's move on. It's not dwelled on, and we're very lucky that one of the other partners, Chris, who was in it pretty much at the same time as Dale. Chris and I have worked together a long time. He's a very different character, so he's very calm and steady
He's a
and
mediator.
very measured, very measured. Yes, so he becomes this mediating, gelling agent that allows us all to. It wouldn't probably work without Chris, I guess, is what I'm saying. In
And you've
our
got the other brother involved as well now.
Yeah, so Dean. So we have a barrel product.
Yeah. No, yeah, you lent
Uh,
me one actually. Well, not you
yeah,
personally,
yeah,
but I borrowed one for a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dean makes those
Oh,
on
he's the one
Speyside.
making them.
So he's based on Speyside with two other guys, and they make them. So in terms of what they collected, and they're fucked really when we get them. And then we turn them round, upcycle them, and they become cleaned and beautiful and resin lined, and that's Dean's thing. So
They are a piece of art. Like
they're
for
beautiful.
anyone listening, you've got barrels that lots of people use, but then to keep the water clean is impossible, isn't it? In
Yes,
those barrels, and
yes,
I've had splinters in them. I've tried them before. There's been slugs
yeah. You
that have
can't do it.
emerged out of nowhere, it seems. But what
Yeah,
you've created or what he's created is just stunning. Like it
and
almost
it's
doesn't look like a barrel. You expect when you touch it to be made of like a
yeah.
different like plastic, but made to look like a wooden barrel. You don't
Yeah.
expect it
Oh,
to be
they
that good
are.
quality. Yeah.
It's taken I mean, it's taken probably certainly 12 months to arrive at what's the recipe to create them? What is the process? And a lot of trial and error, a lot of pain. Initially, it was just him in his shed, one at a time. And he was passionate that he was doing this on the side and he wanted to get involved in Brass Monkey. So he wanted to bring something to it. And he made that happen. So that's Dean. So there's myself. So there's Daniel, Dean, and Dale.
So it's a
And we're
proper
all,
family business, and you've had
yeah,
investment from another family company, I guess. So I
yeah,
guess they share those
Patalia.
values.
That's right, Patalia. Yeah. So they've been involved about 18 months as well. So they've been great, kind of giving us the cash to scale, which is something we need to keep doing because our our focus is to create the best products on the market, and we're in it for the long game. At the minute now, we seem to be at peak chaos at the bottom end of the market, at the cheaper end of the market, where the Loomies and all these kind of companies, there's just so many now, and they're procuring generally the same product out of China,
Yeah.
attaching it to a different vessel, putting a sticker on it, and great, great, fair play to everyone giving it a go. And that's not our goal. Our goal is to grow adoption of cold water immersion, and a consequence of that will be selling things to people. So I don't share the same goal as Lumi or
You're not
whatever.
looking to make quick money.
How many products we sell? And no, that's not how it works. I believe in cold water immersion to my core because it helped me.
Mm.
It's how it started and the reason to convert the chest freezer. So we're mission led or purpose led, if you wanted to call it that, in the sense that the more people that get in cold water, generally the better the world will be.
Mm.
I mean, amongst other things, and if we ate well, and I'm not pretending it's a panacea, a
So all we
silver
need is
bullet,
cold. Yeah.
yeah, all we need is cold. But it's an element, and just the way it regulates your nervous system. I mean, it's almost the unspoken benefit of ice baths. That's actually the main benefit of taking an ice bath is really regulating your nervous system. And people talk about challenge and resilience, and they're great outcomes to things like resilience. And you talk about, oh, you've got stronger immune system, and this science that supports all these things, and people get lost in the science. And I think we've gone through a period of sharing those ideas as well, and probably, I think, spoiling those conversations really, because there is a beautiful simplicity to an ice bath that it mirrors what you are, where you are at today, and if you choose to listen to that and feel that and understand what's going on, the gifts are immeasurable in what it gives. When I used to go into an ice bath at first, it was very much it's got, I'd done a lot of the Wim Hof stuff, 2018 onwards, doing Wim Hof stuff. So I eventually gave into trying a cold shower, and then I went a few of these, up the mountain in Poland with Wim, and then other instructors in the Lake District, and that kind of thing. And fantastic. I loved it, but it was only when I really applied it at home on my own with this freezing cold, 0 degree chest freezer, where all those lessons and ideas that Wim was rattling on about in front of everyone, and those groups are very everyone's glued to what the man's saying, and he's amazing, and you're cheering and whooping all the rest of it. I don't know what for, but when I took those messages home and really listened and reflected and experienced what he was talking about, I understood it was all about developing a more level-headed, stronger me. And I could understand where my body was at. I could understand physically when I would get a reaction, because I've always been a bit sensitive on Raynaud's, not these days, but it
Okay.
used to
Yeah.
be.
That's for
Developed
our
that
listeners. That's
tolerance.
where parts of your body would go white. That's right,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, fingers for me. Yeah, fingers. So it would be really bad, really, really bad. But what I observed was it was when I would go in and not listen. So, for example, I would say, oh, 5 minutes. And I see this all the time. People, how long do you stay in? It's some kind of like you should have a badge with how many minutes you do.
Yeah.
And it's the wrong question. But I used to do that. So I understand it. I used to go in and think, yeah, I'm going to do 5 minutes today. But that didn't matter. It didn't appreciate where I was at mentally, what was going on with the kids. Perhaps I'm trying to squeeze it in and I'm rushing around, and that's not necessarily good. Or I've had, because of our young children, I've had maybe several days of back-to-back poor sleep. and I go in, I'm going to do 5 minutes despite reality. So I'm not respecting kind of where I'm at and dialing into where I'm at. Fast forward to today, it's very different. I walk out of the house to have my ice baths in the garage. It's brass monkey one actually, so it's always debatable whether it's working because it's been pulled apart and reassembled that many times. It's cobbled shoes, as I walk out to the unit, and I just quickly I loop through every reason why I shouldn't do it, because every day I don't want to do it,
Yeah.
and I never want to do it, and I walk out and think I just skip past that now. It's kind of almost like a little routine I have with myself. But then I will just check in where I'm at. How do I feel? I feel a bit challenged today. All right, well, let's just take that easy then. Let's feel what that's like. Other days I'll think, yeah, I feel fucking great actually. I'm going to do the ice bath and then I'll do some resistance training, pre-cooled resistance training, and collect a different set of benefits from that. And on challenge days now, whereas forcing it, some days I'm probably in sub a minute.
When this
What
preparation in
matters,
your head, sorry, this
yeah,
narrative, is it, are you meditating? Is it just on your walk to the bath? These questions that you're
yeah,
asking yourself, is it in bed? Is it on the
yeah.
toilet before?
No, it's so I make sure that whatever I do when it's ice bath time, which for me is first thing, I get up and go to the unit. I get up and do it. I make sure I've removed every barrier. So
Mm.
I know it's not an attractive thought, but I make sure I just get naked because then I can't create a fucking excuse about shorts. So I just make sure there's the towel draped over the chair at the end of the kitchen on the way out, and that's all I do. And then just literally out, towel around, out in, and as I walk towards it, I just check in where I'm at. I might glance at my overnight score from Aura
Okay,
and
yeah.
see how strained I am, you know, from a readiness perspective.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll use that as a bit of a sense check. Am I just being a bit of a wimp today? You know, is there any? I think, oh, actually, my readiness is pretty good. You know, I've been, but yeah, let's just feel my way through this one. Or other times I think my readiness is poor. I don't feel good, but I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it, but I'm not in there to be a hero. I'm just showing up today. So showing up day will be I'll get in quickly over the gasp reflex, and it's just get to the relaxed state, and I make a point of smiling in that relaxed state, showing up today in a very, very difficult situation, because that's the beauty of it. It's never easier because every day I'll give myself excuses to not do it. And I get out and I might have done, you know, let's anywhere between I bet it would be 35 to 45 seconds. And probably 10% of ice baths are like that, where I'm just feel stressy. I feel it. I feel it. And I shouldn't push up against that by forcing such a, you know, toxic stressor like the cold, because that thing will kill you if you stayed in it for half an hour. So
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to do that. I just use it as a tool. Other days I feel really good. I don't need to look at my aura readiness score. I'll just and I'll be in there 3 to 5 minutes. I don't use a timer, so I don't know. But I chill out and I can feel my heartbeat in my fingers, and I think I'm all's good. All's good. I can you know, and I gaze at the drishti, the monkey at the end of the ice bath, the little icon, the badge, and I'm just maybe feeling my heartbeat. It becomes a practice. But every day is a practice, but I don't, but it's not the same practice. I guess it's my very long-winded. I don't know if this even makes sense, but
No,
it's a
completely.
the practice changes, and that for me is what the art of the ice bath is. It's a tool. It's a way
It's a
to learn
vehicle.
about yourself. Yeah. So yeah,
It's a vehicle for self-inquiry, and
yeah,
you don't need
yeah.
to go the same pathway every single day. You don't
No,
need to go the same route. It's just the
otherwise
ride.
you miss out if you do that. You miss out. It's a recovery tool. You know, so many companies like Lumi, you know, fair play. They want to position it as a recovery tool and be next to percussion. Is that what they call them? Percussion massage guns or whatever.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
All these types of products,
Yeah.
and it's just a recovery tool. No, it's fucking not. It fucking isn't a recovery
It's
tool.
like
It's not.
yoga is a stretching tool. You know,
Yeah, exactly. It's
it
exactly
can be
like
that.
that.
That is a
It
maybe a
can
slightly
be.
welcome byproduct.
Yes, it can be, but its real gift, if you want to grab it, is like nervous system. It's like it's a mirroring it, and it's a regulator of it. And if you want to measure it over time, you can see that shit improving your HRV score. You can see how you're building, a physiological, well, a psychological resilience that's measured in a physiological scoring. And that for me is where it matured beyond 5 minutes and time and temperature and how cold can I possibly make it and how long can I possibly be in. And I used to really stress myself out. I didn't even know I was doing it. I chuckle now, what the fuck was I doing? I'd come out and I'd only be able to warm up for like an hour, but I was so obsessed with it and the dopamine rush and
Yeah.
it must be good for me now. And then I reflected on that Wim stuff and I just thought, Jesus, he was telling me all along. The cold is your teacher. Yeah, of course. So we have this video series now, Cold is My Teacher, and that's why it's called that, because that was the epiphany for me, reflecting on Wim whilst freezing my fucking tits off, trying to warm up, running around a field afterwards, thinking this isn't, I can't see I'm getting this right. And so then realizing, yeah, I just need to listen instead of trying to, just dominate this thing it's not possible.
It's interesting that it took you a while to get those lessons from Wim. And I think it's the same with any kind of practice of spirituality or inquiry, that you often go away somewhere exotic, some unusual situation with people that are very open or emotional, in very dramatic landscapes. And it's very easy to soak it all up. But it's very hard to actually think about how it applies to daily life. And it's very hard for those lessons to really sink in because you're just having this lovely experience. Yoga retreats, meditation retreats are all the same. Many people go on these kind of meditation retreats, they're quiet for 2 weeks, they come back and they can't really integrate learnings into daily life.
Yeah.
They become kind of like arseholes again. And actually what was probably more beneficial was a meditation for 20 seconds every day, gradually increasing for a year, than that 2 weeks of silence and thinking it's all going to change. And it's interesting, it took you a while to really grab those lessons and apply them to daily life. And in terms of, you said some of the benefits in terms of nervous system. For a lot of our listeners, that might seem very kind of intangible. What does that mean in daily life, benefits for nervous system? Could you expand on that?
Well, there's firstly just the awareness of it. The awareness of where I'm at today is a real gift, isn't it? When I think about my previous life, so I worked in marketing and agencies for 22 years before this. And when I think how I used to just run an autopilot and not really understand what was going on for me that day, I can't blame the industry or the life for that. I just not matured enough. I'd not developed a practice of any sort. Yoga for me would be literally back then just stretching.
Yeah.
I do yoga now for different reasons, but I think it's maturing for me primarily, it's maturing your thinking enough to bake in reflection every day. Where am I at? What might be causing that? And it creates great questions, kind of, if I'm on it, my sleep quality is not great. What am I doing? I'm eating too late because I'm rushing back from work and trying to squeeze too much in. Well, there's a knock-on consequence to this stuff over decades, because it's by the time you hit your 40s, isn't it? It all gets real because you can no longer. Sorry, my light flashed. It's the hang on a minute. There we go.
You timed out.
It's the life happens to you, or you're able to just. For me, it was this experience of now I can monitor where I'm at. I can check in consciously every day with what do I feel like? Do I feel, is it tired? Is it irritable? And it creates just spaces for self-inquiry, not in any kind of like wanky drawn out way, just really practical, I'm conscious I am definitely tetchy today. What is that about? Yeah, as opposed to you just go through your day and it's all kind of blind. So for me, that nervous system thing is primarily a consciousness, and then there is exercising it. And my means to exercise it is the cold, and amongst other things, but primarily that. And I know that the cold is a means to strengthen the nervous system, because if you by managing by managing such a toxic stressor in a microdose, you have to learn to get your shit together. You have to learn to do that. And when you're really new to the cold, it might take a minute to do that. You know, it's a really slow arc where you know, you gasping and holding on to the side of whatever you're in for dear life, and panting, and that changes over time, where it's coming and I'm ready for it. I'm actually sensitive. I can feel the rise of catecholamines as I walk towards, as I look at it on a morning. I can feel the norepinephrine, you know, kind of can feel the adrenals going, because we know what's coming, don't we? And the beauty of the cold is it will reliably do that every time. No matter no matter
Deliver.
how yeah, no matter how adapted you are, you don't get to escape the fact that that reaction, that physiological reaction is going to occur. But then being able to manage that, to mitigate your response to it in some way through, and it is primarily through breath, I think, but it's top down in some, the breath just to, for me, I'm not a breathwork expert. For me, breath's just a means to give me it's primarily to give me a thing to do.
It's an anchor.
Yeah, it's just a thing to do. And what I've learned is that there's a specific way that I go about that, where my breath is calm in 5 seconds, maybe something. It used to be maybe getting towards a minute, and it's just a little bit of a practice, and I drop into that kind of calm state. And that's again that self-inquiry. What's just another Wim quote, where, you know, like the cold mirrors where you're at today, which is nervous system. So it's taken me a bit longer to get dialed in today, or am I remarkably composed very quickly? That's interesting. But then beyond that, you know, I feel blood flow. I feel it's just just a it's just a gorgeous process, really. Ice bath, and
Do you ever
if you
think the
choose to
breath?
use it that way.
Do you ever think the breath kind of acts as a distraction? To give some context to why I'm
Yeah,
asking that is when you do meditation, there's different forms of it. Sometimes you might focus on a candle, you might focus on breath awareness, you might focus on a
yeah,
mantra looping around. And for most people, they find that kind of meditation easier because there is something to anchor oneself around. But there's a style of meditation called do nothing, which sounds very simple. And the
mm,
idea is you literally do nothing. And the moment you find yourself doing anything, like any kind of observational awareness, you bring yourself back to nothingness. Some people hate it, and some people absolutely love that. And so I wonder if you're saying that the breath doesn't give you the main benefit is that it gives you something to do. Do you ever find a point where you are doing nothing and just aware of what's going on? Can you let go of the breath as well?
absolutely.
Yeah,
I try to let go of the breath as quickly as possible. So
nice.
for me, the way that the breath work now seems to be slammed into, you've got to do breath work to have an ice bath, is really somewhat frustrating. You know, every time I turn, like, functional breathing is now integral to like taking an ice bath. It's absolutely not true, but you might choose to do that. Well, Wim Hof method is that, isn't it? You
Mm.
know, it is, you know, kind of hyperventilate for 20 minutes. You know, intermittent hypoxia, and then you're able to go into the ice bath, and that's packaged up is Wim Hof method. And that's one way to do it. Other people might do more oxygen advantage Buteyko style, and they're, you know, consciously down regulating the nervous system, and taking those preparations. But for me, I don't want any of that in the way, because my I'll either do two things in an ice bath. I'll be in flow, and I don't even know what happened. So I'll get to a point where I think it's probably what you're saying, nothingness.
Mm.
Or it will be a very deep introspective thing. Because that's how I started. Because I remember Wim Hof would say, feel feel the blood flow in your little toe. Feel your heartbeat. Feel um feel your brain pulsing, and sending these signals all around your body. And I used to love this idea. I just think it was a fascinating thing. And so that introspective journey around my body is probably 80% of the time where I end up.
Nice.
Just because just because Wim introduced it that way, and I love Wim, and I'm not particularly wedded to the Wim Hof method. I enjoy it, every now and then, but I love what Wim teaches there, and this idea of top-down control, and really that's what helped with my Raynaud's. So when I was in the water, probably a great example, I'd place my hands on my thighs, and I would imagine all the tiny, there's billions of them capillaries all around my body, but I'd focus on the ones in my fingers where I know it would turn right. And I imagine them opening like flowers, like little red flowers. That was just, I don't know where I got that from. But I would imagine them because I didn't want them to spasm, because what he was saying was primarily, you need to go to a doctor to double check, but primarily it's a top-down problem, Raynaud's. So sometimes it's a reflection, a symptom of a metabolic condition or something else that you need to investigate. But primarily top-down. And I thought, yeah, that feels right for me, because it's sporadic and painful, and it doesn't seem to be all the time. And yeah, and then I would imagine all these capillaries flowering, and this introspective thing became really important to me. And then I noticed I used to get Raynaud's on on a little toe, and I'd do the same thing. I'd imagine it like I was training the smooth vascular muscle in the capillaries to stop spasming and instead open up, kind of releasing and releasing, and so I've loved that. I've loved that, and ice baths never get boring for me because there's so much I can do in there during that time period. But then, yeah, 20% of the time, now you've said it, yeah, I am. I would have said it in flow in some way, but yeah, it's what I'm not doing anything. I look. We have at the end of the ice bath there's yoga thing, drishti, which is just the monkey logo, from our branding, and it's a little brass disc right at the end, and it's there for that purpose because it's better from a nervous system point of view that you have your eyes open in an ice bath, so your body knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it encourages eyes open, gaze, but don't particularly focus. So I just let that go blurry, and there's a blue light that shines down over that. And I just and it bounces off the ice, and when you squint, it's kind of like quite pretty and whatever. So I just like gaze into that, and then I'll think, oh, I should probably get out actually, and
Nice.
then I'll go about my day. But probably 1 in 5 is that.
I distract myself too much in mine. I've got ours next to a pond, and it's in the summer now. It's like there's foxes will go past and little birds, and I'm just watching them. So it's good in a way because I can spend longer in there, but it's not so good for kind of looking inwards. But on that note of distraction, everything we've talked about so far is quite like a solo experience. And yet a big thing for you and your brand and perhaps its success has been the public stuff. You've had the pop-up shop. I like to, with all my guests, try and find their first ever social media post. And I thought that actually within 1 year, you've gone from your prototype to being like Russell Brand's Festival and doing stuff in public. Like it was a good, quick turnaround. So I'd love to speak to you about this idea of almost like the value of collective suffering and support. I don't like doing cold stuff with other people in my experience thus far. Like the moment, like a few weeks ago, I was in the bath, just got in, then my wife and mother-in-law walked into the garden. I was like, no, done, I'm out. This is over immediately. But do you think it's better to do with people? Do you think there is value in experiencing something challenging with other people? Could you speak to that?
Yeah, I would be with you personally because, as I've already described, probably a little bit too at length, I love the introspective journey of it. So it's kind of like my meditation, I suppose, isn't it? So do I want to co-meditate with other people? No, it's not really what I want to do. However, what have I observed is a very different thing. When I've been on Wim Hof events, or take the Russell Brand stuff, the Joe Wick stuff on Sunday, just gone in Kew Gardens, there's something magical when groups of people come together with a shared goal. I suppose it's a little bit like, I once went to a Tony Robbins event years ago, and you do the firewalk at the end, and there's like, these are big events. It's like several thousand people achieve this firewalk together, and the energy is quite insane. I remember thinking it's all suddenly got very American around here, and everyone's whooping and high fiving and hugging, and there's people crying, and there's all kinds of release goes on, and it's a little bit like that, really, because some people are terrified and they really want guidance, otherwise they'd never do it. And it's I've always wanted to do this. I'm here to do this because I don't want to do it on my own. I want someone to guide me through it, and I really understand that, because although my experience now is very introspective, it wasn't. I the first time I had an ice bath was on a Wim Hof event in the Lake District. That was in a flowing river.
That was the first one you did. Was on an event. Oh wow.
Yeah. And it worked because I was with other people. So I really understand it when people want to try it together, because we're all overcoming a common barrier, which is really ourselves, isn't it? It's the inner chimp. Talking away, pecking away. Oh God, you look a bit fat in those shorts, or you've never done this. You're gonna scream. Are you gonna be able to? I bet you'll do less time than everyone else. I hear it. You hear it going away. You're gonna look ridiculous. Everyone's looking at you, but actually, by going with a bunch of people, all that actually it really genuinely disappears, because people are together. And so when I was taking a group through on Sunday, I was thinking about it on the train on the way back. There was a lady who was in tears at the thought of going in. And I said, "Are you sure you want to do it?" Because the most important thing about an ice bath is you do have to decide to collect all those benefits and to build that resilience. It requires this doesn't happen to you. It requires that you deliberately decide to go into the cold. And she said, "Yeah, I think I do." And so I, like with the other people, do we think she sounds confident? Is she up for this? And kind of make it a bit more fun. And who's looking? So I was saying, who's going to look after? We'll call Jane. Who's going to look after Jane? And yeah, well, you guys buddy up. We'll go together. You guys will be next to each other, and I'll focus more of my time on you. Anyone got any advice for Jane and that kind of thing? And then we have a very simplified protocol, breath work, to go into. It's just a protocol, really, to go into the ice, this 3 gears idea. And we'll get practicing it together. And I could see the more that she practiced it, and I said to her, "This is all you're focused on. This is it. This is the art of the ice bath." And she relaxed, but she needed the group. She needed to feel supported. And whenever we do these events, and we do it purely because our mission is to help as many people get into cold water as possible. There is no ROI from doing Joe Wicks Kew Gardens. It is literally a cost. We didn't sell ice baths over the weekend. We don't get a deluge of calls on Monday morning. I saw you at Joe. I'd love to buy, and it just doesn't happen. It's contributing. It's encouraging more people to give it a try at our expense and investment. And so yeah, I think it's a great way to start if you've never done it before. We're doing some kind of pop-up. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. Event with the Stoltman brothers, world's strongest.
Yeah. Big boys.
So they've got a brass monkey unit, and then we're going to do a meetup at theirs in September, I think.
They've been into it for quite a long time, haven't they? I know they've started working with you more recently.
Yeah. And
have you had to? Can they fit in your
I'm
normal
looking forward
one?
to that. No, we had to make them a duo. We had to make them a 2 person. Huge thing. It's a beast, but then they're big fellas, aren't they? So we're doing an event there, and actually I'm really looking forward to that being a group thing, because I'm dialed into that group idea rather than how I generally like to have an ice bath. But I love watching the change in people. I love how it brings people together. I love how it's something that we've done for millennia, and it's blindingly obvious when you see it. When you see someone go from nothing to 0 degrees, no experience, to 0 degrees, and they, after 30 seconds there, 40 seconds, you see the breath change, and they relax, and the shoulders drop down away from their ears, and the jaw relaxes, and you think, you've done it. You've got there. Like you're in control. Unfortunately, they have to get out after a minute because we don't allow more than a minute on an event because we keep it as safe as possible and
Okay.
don't overexpose. But I'm like the lady with the pretend name Jane. I said to her after I wanted her to make sure that she took away that. Did you see how you went from this to this to this to this? You can take that into life. That breathe. If ever you're really pissed off in traffic or you've had a fallout with your partner and you're really irked and whatever, do the same 3 gear breathing and just down regulate, just down regulate, and know that each time you try your cold showers at home, you're building resilience. You're building a resilience. It's all overcoming that kind of here's a stressor. It's awful. Oh, it's not. I'm all good.
I
It's
love that. I love that way of looking. That's how I look at often yoga. Like I want people to find yoga challenging, but can they keep their steady breath and steady mind while doing it? And if they can do it on the mat, then they can hopefully do it a little bit off the mat in life when they're in
yeah,
the traffic or like. Were you ever scared that you were going to turn when you decided to turn this into a business and it's something you
mm,
love and something that given you so much value that it would to some degree kind of corrupt it for you? 'Cause there's always that risk of when you turn something you love into what then becomes your job, as it were. There's a
yeah.
risk of it ruining, and you do also, and I acknowledge this, and I've always thought this about your company, give so much back. So although it is a business, the guide that you have, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know how many pages it is, but it's like a comprehensive PDF.
Took me 6 weeks, that.
And that's it's huge. It's really well done, and most companies would happily charge £50 for that as a
Yeah,
full-on
no,
guide. And you're
no.
giving away so much for free. And I've even seen your Instagram team share stuff that isn't pure brass monkey. And
We
even if that,
recommend, yeah.
and it's amazing what you do in that sense. So there's no question you do lots for the community, but you ever scared that turning it into a money-making thing as well could ruin it for you?
No, because I don't see business as money making. I
Okay,
believe in purpose-led brands and
and
purpose-led
nice.
businesses. I think the point of capitalism is to grow things for other people,
Mm.
and there will be an outcome for you. So I don't see it as a Loomy-esque, ship them in cheap, we'll make a margin, jobs are good. And of course, people make millions and billions of pounds, with that mindset. So I'm not critical of it, but that's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to go about it. So for me, everything's brand first, which means it's purpose led. So it's always about growing that kind of awareness of cold water immersion and the encouragement to take a dip a day. That is the driving force, really. It's never not been that. So I've never had that concern. I think
Nice.
it gets more difficult now when we get bigger and with an investor and there are bills to pay and there are 55 people that work here now and so that there is, it's scarier for sure, but I still believe in the growth trajectory of the company and the market, and I just think that will look after itself. That's us making great decisions, and if we make a shit one, make a better one quickly. There's never a wrong bad decision. We just make better ones quickly. But it's separate to the brand. The business side is separate to the brand, and it's brand first always. So is this generally for the greater good? So as we've looked at moving into commercial and commercial products, well, that seems a really good thing to do because it'll be more reliable income. We'll be able to do more things brand wise, more activation, like the Joe Wicks kind of stuff.
You're David Lloyd now as well, aren't you? I think I.
Yeah, our first David Lloyd installation opens up in August at Trafford in Manchester. And my goal is that becomes 80% of our business, that we become, we keep going higher end and doing more and more and more, because all of that R&D and that innovation because that forces considerable pressure on, product development, because we build them here, they're not, we don't have a spec and then ship it in mass. That's not
Mm.
how up to press we've done that. If we went into the cheaper end, we would probably do that. We would take our drawings and we'd kind of de-spec them a bit and create something and then find a cheaper way to make them so that it's affordable for more people. At the minute, that's not where we've been. It's been, let's make the very best thing that we can, which is ultimately software controls a number of components in it. And that software that we've paid to have written and developed over the last 2 years, but it's been about, now, next, better. So now with the commercial products, it's better components, better finishes, higher grade UV, huge media filters, for filtration, compared to little, like domestic ones that's similar to, akin to a hot tub. And I love that. I love that end of it. How we're pushing boundaries and challenge first. Like there's always this attitude of bring it on. Or could we do something that'll go into a plant room installation, David Lloyd? Yeah, yeah, we definitely fucking can do that. How are we going to do it? Don't know. Well, that's a different question. How are we going to do it? But can we do that? Absolutely. And that keeps a lot of people here engaged. That we kind of out giving it a go and growing what we do, not just sat still importing and shipping product.
And I saw a very old article that you wrote regarding the art of war.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
recall writing that? I found
yeah,
that.
smart insights. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you're still applying those tactics,
Absolutely, yeah,
but for the greater
yeah.
good, in a
For the
sense.
greater good, yeah. Brands have to lift a community. I bet that's the better the business does, the more resource the brand is to do good things. And the more, ironically, the more good things that you do, the more talkable and findable you are to then be bought. So
Yeah.
it is commercially beneficial to play the long game and be ruthlessly honest about what you're doing, who you're helping, why do you want to do it, and pursue that. And because that one thing doesn't change. What the business does can change and pivot all the time. Like now as the market, grows, we're not in a massive growth market, but it is growing, the ice bath space, and it'll continue to do that for a long time now. But should we go into Saudi Arabia? Should we have all these kind of like what seem like quite sophisticated business-like conversations, but basically we just get in a room and, well, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? Well, what's the data?
As your team grows, how do you ensure that everyone still has that same mission? Like, do you have it written in big in your
Yeah,
office? What's the
yeah.
mission statement, if you can share it, or is there an internal one as well?
It's really simple. Our mission is to help as many people as possible have a dip a day. That's it, really. They're just a very simple idea. We have values that cascade from that in terms of how we conduct ourselves and what we can expect from each other. Those more kind of typical kind of brand led, which is easy for me to do because I come from that background. So I understand a lot of that firsthand, how businesses translate brand into culture, because
Mm.
ultimately the brand is the culture of the internal culture of the people that are here, and then the external culture it reflects kind of out in the world. It's just how we behave, that, isn't it? It's ultimately how we behave. So if we behave in a way that is encouraging of others, giving them opportunities, making sure they've got access to a dip a day, kind of whilst they work here, we can live the brand. But it's not in a wanky way like an agency would kind of write up for you and then you put it in a drawer. You just live it. It's a simple idea and we just live it. So yeah, we have all that stuff documented, but it doesn't need to be. It's so simple. It doesn't really need to be documented.
Nice. And I don't want to keep you for much longer, so I'm just going to do a few quick fires for you, if
Sure.
that's right. So head under or not?
No, no, I don't think it's a good idea. For most
And
people, most of the time.
okay, yeah, no, it all depends. That's a caveat to everything, isn't it? It depends. Uh, anything you'd like to do more of with your time that you're not currently?
I always have aspirations to go and do cool things. So like I have a motorbike and I'd love to be able to go and do like the 500 route in Scotland. And I have these ideas about, yeah, it'd be great to ride around Ireland. I never get to do it because of the family. But they remain a thing that I'll do one day.
And then, will you expose children to the cold at any point?
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, I do now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens at events too, as long as it's parent led. The thing is with kids, they never do dumb shit like adults do. They don't. They play and they experiment and they test. So it's actually such a lovely, safe thing to watch and observe. Dangling their feet in, picking up the ice, feeling what that's like, put it against the cheek, and they might stand up in it up to the waist and gasp and then jump back out screaming, and just encouraging play, really. This is a thing that millennia ago, it's how we bathed. Of course, our units are going to zero, and your likelihood of ever encountering 0 degree water in nature is slim to none. For most of us, certainly these days. But cold water is something that was completely normal. It's only been engineered out of our lives in recent times. So yeah, my kids play in it, and they love to play it in the summer, and then unfortunately it escalates quickly, doesn't it? Because of their age, so it's buckets are in and throwing at each other or whatever. So have to keep that
And then in
watch.
terms of what's going on for your brand now, there's videos, you've got the new clothing range. Could you tell anyone where to find you or what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm brassmonkey.co is the website. You'll see there kind of a gradual shift, kind of upmarket, upstream into commercial as we develop that, because that's where we see our future. We're experimenting with the clothing because enough people asked us about it. So again, that wasn't really I wonder if we can make money out of t-shirts. We just got asked repeatedly. You have these like this kind of stuff. You have this stuff at events, and where can I buy it? And it's like, oh, it's just workwear. This is just cheap stuff. So we thought, well, let's spend a bit of money and make some proper product and see if anyone actually does want that. And so you can see that we're refining as we head into generation 3 of the ice baths, which is more of the brain of the machine upgrade. That's hot on our list at the minute. We'll possibly look at cheaper chillers, but don't know, maybe not. I love the barrels, to be honest, as that, kind of slightly cheaper, but throttled in demand, because we can only make throttled in supply, because we can only make so much of them because they're handcrafted on Speyside.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Honestly unbalanced.